We are taking a road trip for this edition of UWC On Air. Strap yourselves in, folks. It is going to be a good one. Hello and welcome everyone. Robert Adams here with another installment of UWC On Air. We are in Turkey this week, and here's what we're focusing on over the course of the next 30 minutes. The Karate Kids of UWs make history at the World University Championships here in Turkey. Also ahead, stress. It's that time of the year where many of us really start to feel it. One of our authorities on the subject, psychologist Bradley Knight, is here to talk us through simple ways of coping. A historic event on the horizon. The university is preparing to honor some big-name recipients for their extraordinary contributions to society. This is Istanbul. It is one of Turkey's major cities and located right in the middle of two continents. You've got Europe on my right, Asia on my left, divided by this very busy Bosphorus Strait. Now, a lot like Cape Town, there's plenty to see and do in Istanbul. On the north coast of Turkey is the city of Samsun, and it's there where a group of athletes from the University of the Western Cape's Karate Club really put the institution on the map. They bagged Team South Africa's first ever University Games medal. Team captain Jody Williams tells us just how much that particular achievement meant and how he's managed to grow the club over the last 12 months.
So we were in a team event that comprised of myself, Lyndon, Darren and Franco, who's from the University of Pretoria. And our first round we had Turkey actually. So it was really like, okay, we have to make a statement here. And from the first fighter to the second and the third fighter, it was really just focus and positivity, and we just pushed forward. Then we got into the semi-finals where we versed Jordan, a really, really tough team. So it was almost like, okay, we are here now, let's not give up hope and let's just push. And then we lost basically on a judge's decision. We had an advantage point, and it was taken away from us in like the second, and then Jordan won. So just like we had it like so close from being in the final and possibly a gold medal. So it's like, okay, now we know what we need to work on and focus on. So for the next competition, hopefully we'll do better. No, honestly, it was really, really something big. I think it's also the first time that all of us attended this in Turkey, so it was really something to look forward to. And also we know that the competition level on that side is like super, super high. There's guys that's constantly competing in Series A leagues. So for us to be there firstly is a huge achievement, and the medal also is just a sweeter. So this club started in 2021 in about November side, yeah. When myself and Coach Michael, he was a physio student studying in his final year, and he just wanted to see who's still doing karate, and then we still managed to get funding and stuff. And from there, we started with, I think, 3 students, myself, Lyndon, and Darren. And then afterwards, the club grew exponentially after that because there was a buy-in now. And Coach Michael has just been really pushing all the advertising, asking people come and join, because there's really a lot of people that study here that we compete with on a national level also. So at the moment, we're about 6 or 7, and there's new people that's joining like every single day. So we're actually very excited about that and taking the team further with us.
The Men's Football World Cup takes centre stage for the next 4 weeks. South Africa sadly won't be there again. Well, the millions back home will no doubt be following the action very, very closely. UWC has international students from every corner of the globe, and they've been pledging their support to their competing nations.
Hi everyone, I'm Camilia, I'm from Morocco. Love watching football because my dad used to be a professional goalkeeper. My favorite players therefore are Bounou, which is the goalkeeper in the Moroccan team, also Hakimi and Ziyech, and we have one citation in Morocco which is Allah Al-Watan Al-Malik.
I really like the World Cup and watching football because it brings our country together. All of a sudden we all have something in common, especially when you go to the bar to watch, you really get taken with the excitement from everyone. I think my favorite player is Eden Hazard, and let's hope we win from France.
Zdravo svima, my name is Milica, I come from Montenegro. Unfortunately, my country didn't make it to the World Cup, but I'm rooting for our neighbor Croatia, and I hope that Modric with his football mates will win the World Cup.
Goedendag, ik ben Cora van Leeuwen. I'm a student of communication studies and I'm supporting the Netherlands because when I was growing up it was the only team that I was allowed to support. And I'm a big fan of Virgil van Dijk because he's amazing and he's going to take us to the World Cup. He took us to the World Cup and he's going to take us to the championship, and it will be the first time that we will beat the Germans. That's what I hope.
It's time for a short break. When we return, a focus on stress. Everything you need to know, from how your body reacts to how to ride out the storm. Welcome back. Stress, most of us know it. Most of us know it better than others, but to really get it, we've got to go right to the start. Insightful analysis just ahead from UWC psychologist Bradley Knight. He spoke to my colleague Nathan Adams.
We all know the S word, stress. Is stress management still important, and what is stress?
The second part of your question, stress management is important because over time it can do serious harm. All right, it can kill. So it is an important thing that you are needing to take care of. So let's talk about what stress is before we talk about stress management. Stress is, can be best described as a feeling of emotional or physical tension in the body in response to a very demanding, challenging situation that we're in. And so this can take a variety of forms. For example, you might be facing a deadline. You might be needing to write an exam. You might be in a life-threatening situation, like in the middle of the jungle and you hear a lion roar. You're going to need stress to help you to get out of that situation. So I'll chat a little bit about what's happening in the brain. But essentially, in small doses and short little bursts, stress is helpful. It can save your life, all right? Because what's happening in the brain is that a certain part of the brain, the amygdala, is getting very involved in releasing what I'd like to think of as a little superpower. These are chemicals, the stress hormone, cortisol, and there's also another hormone called adrenaline that's getting pumped into our bloodstream to help us survive that situation as best possible, all right? So changes start to take place in our physical body, our heart rate goes up, our muscles get primed to survive the situation, and our breathing changes, and so all of that's taking place in order to prime us to survive. But if it's chronic, it's happening over a period of time, frequently, that's when it's going to start becoming problematic. That might include your physical body. So when people are under a lot of stress, they might find they get a headache, they've got muscle tension, they might notice they get chest pain or their tummy becomes upset. So these are all the physical kind of manifestations of stress where it's unhelpful, all right? But also it might impact you at an emotional level. You might find that, for example, you worry a lot now. And it might even become the precursor to psychiatric issues like depression, anxiety, panic attacks. So in short, stress is helpful. It just gets a really bad rap. But in short little doses, it's there to help you perform and manage in a very, very demanding, challenging kind of situation. It's when it's not managed and it's overwhelming that it becomes problematic.
There's always that adrenaline rush, of course, but what are some of the practical things you can do to manage stress, either in the moment or some things you can do before the time if you know you're going into a stressful situation?
Great question. So I'd say the best way to manage stress is to do that preventatively. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do that's lifestyle based before you get to the really sexy stuff that you can do in the moment to try and help yourself. So number one, nutrition, eating well, okay, especially if you're a student facing the exams. Try and avoid the junk food. That's going to give you that sugar high and then drop you. The energy drinks, it'll do the same. You want to eat healthy, stay hydrated, have your fruit for snacks, but eat healthily. Of course, sleep is a big one. Get good sleep. You want to try and get at least 6 to 8 hours in of quality sleep, which is going to mean putting away the cell phone a little bit, because people often go onto social media as a way of falling asleep when they struggle, and then inadvertently end up staying awake longer because the blue light from the cell phone is keeping them awake. Not helpful. I'd say the golden rule is try and get to bed the same day that you woke up. If you woke up on Tuesday morning, try and get to bed by Tuesday night, as opposed to the next day. The big one is organizing your time. Structure yourself, right? So if you just not going to plan your time, you're probably going to find that you're going to run into problems. So plan your breaks, plan your study time, plan some time in the sun. You know, of course, exercise is the other big thing you can do to manage stress better. So I'm not talking about you have to live in the gym. Go for a walk, use the stairs instead of the elevator. Another very helpful way would be to learn to say no. It's difficult, right? To maintain healthy boundaries with people, set limits and say no. You would need to secure those boundaries and maintain those boundaries. And that can be hard, and so that might require perhaps a conversation with somebody you trust. So that's another thing that's really helpful to manage stress. Talk to somebody you trust. It doesn't have to be a psychologist.
There is still a stigma attached to stress and to reaching out for help. When do you know now's the time where you need to speak to somebody else? What are the signs that now I actually can't do this on my own anymore? I need to speak to a professional.
When the wheels start to come off, right? You don't want to wait until that happens. There are very obvious signs, like you are overwhelmed, the worry is starting to reach a point where you're not functioning anymore, whether it's at work, in your personal relationships, academically, and I'd say then make the move, make the call. Very often people struggle to reach out because of the stigma attached with mental health. They might think of themselves as quite embarrassed. They might feel embarrassed about asking for help. And that's got a lot to do with how they interpret help-seeking behavior. They might think of themselves as being quite weak in order to have arrived at a place where they need help. In my view, I actually think it's a sign of strength when you can say, I need help, okay? Life is tough. Life is tough, and you don't have to go it alone. That's why I'm saying the starting point is to reach out. There are people you can call, counseling helplines, the SADAG helpline number, Lifeline helpline number. These are places that operate in order for people to be received, contained, and then put in touch with continued professional help if that's what's required.
Still ahead on UWC On Air, a focus on one of the Cape's best kept secrets. Philippi Village, one of the top managers running the show there, is a former UWC student. A pretty historic event coming up. The University of the Western Cape will confer honorary doctorates and gold medals at a gala ceremony later in November. A number of big-name recipients will be honored for their contributions, significant contributions to society.
This graduation is a unique first of its kind event for UWC, because while we've conferred honorary degrees and medals before, we've never done it separately from the main graduation ceremony. The format is also very different, as we will be having conversations with the recipients about the extraordinary work that they are doing that has led them to being honored in this way. The recipients for 2021 and 2022 are extraordinary people because what binds them together is their commitment to making the world a better place. Their service to humankind might differ, for example, investing in young leaders, uplifting a community through the arts, or lending a helping hand to those in need. But a golden thread of giving links them all. I look forward to meeting them on the 30th November and celebrating their achievements with them.
It is time for our Them and Now segment, where we map the journeys of our former students from campus days to wherever they find themselves at this particular moment in time, wherever in the world they find themselves. This week, our journey takes us to Philippi Village. It is a place that's become a lot more than just a multi-purpose community center.
So my name is Siobhan Bachman and I studied at UWC. So just my little history, I was at school and I failed grade 11. The hardest year of my life, felt like a failure, but once I started grade 11 again, I knew that I needed to study further. I wanted to study further, I was determined to study further. And so my brother took me to UWC and we applied and I did the test and the admissions test. And I got accepted at UWC to do a BA degree at the University of the Western Cape. And I graduated in 2013. So I remember my first year at UWC. I think at UWC, the momentum is always being in the cafeteria, playing dominoes, and just being a champion at playing dominoes. In the third year, I needed to take things a little bit more serious. And so I moved from the cafeteria to the library. And so the library is also one of the special spaces that I held while being at UWC. At this point, I am the tenant manager at Philippi Village, and Philippi Village is basically a gem in the heart of the township called Philippi. So at Philippi Village, it's a business park, and here we invite all the community people, entrepreneurs, people that has business, people that has established businesses into the space to trade. So the idea with Philippi Village is not for people to go outside of the township, but to find a space within the township to do the things that they need to do, whether it is assistance with having a CV drawn up, or having access to internet or the computer to apply for schools for their children. So we have different businesses at Philippi Village. It's not only limited to businesses, but rather NGOs. So it's really basically a broad spectrum of people that we invite in the space. A typical day at Philippi Village is serving the community with what they want, what their needs are. So it's basically seeing to the needs of those tenants, whether it's maintenance or a security related issue or anything of that matter. So also at Philippi Village, we really try to keep it a safe space for all tenants to operate in and work and enjoy life basically here. We do have a space called the Container Walk. It consists of 110 containers, and in there we have about 87 different tenants. And some of them use it as office or administration office spaces. We have some salons in there. We have security officers doing training and doing workshops, health and safety. We have funeral policies or funeral financial services. Again, not limited to anything. So Philippi Village used to be an old cement factory back in the day. So a lot of what we see at Philippi Village is basically also or originates from what the cement factory used to be. The amphitheater, for instance, used to be a pond where they would pull water from, or a retention pond rather, where they would pull water from to make the cement. So a lot of the features that you would see in the building, especially in the business hub, still has a lot of reference and origin set with the cement factory that we had. One thing that we also strive on is color and artwork. So in the Philippi Village space, you would see a lot of artwork. And these are people that we are getting in and doing the artwork for us. And it also speaks back to the community in terms of what the community stands for and what our reason and purpose is for being in a space like this in the Philippi Village or in the Philippi Township. So there's a lot happening on our backland, and there's a lot more coming. So one of the projects that we do have is a learning garden, which is called Amatanda, which literally translates into eggs. And so we have chickens, or chicken farm rather, and they're very organic. Because Philippi Village has a history of the cement factory, the ground is very hard. So we've gotten the chickens in so that they can refertilize the ground. And so every season we move them into a new section. And then the section that they just came from, we are planting vegetables and plants and then selling it back to the community with the eggs that the chickens also produce. We have 2 farmers, or egg farmers I would say, and they love what they do and farming. And so one of the things that they do is they play music to the chickens. And they believe that the chickens produce better eggs. It makes the chickens happy. It is organic and free-range chickens also. Philippi Village also went on a journey to create a coffee shop. This was very much of teamwork that needed to be done. And so the team also came up with the name Punga. So Punga literally translates into sipping something hot. The baristas that we trained up is females from the community, which we've selected, and we had sent them on barista training, and we've invited them back into the space and given them work opportunity. The City of Cape Town Public Library, they used to be in Nyanga, but because of all the incidents that happened at their library, they identified Philippi Village to be a safe space. And this was one of the reasons why they moved into our premises or into our space. We have the Desmond Tutu Foundation here also. They do have a pharmacy. And during COVID, it was one of the labs where they would test different vaccines in our space. So our CEO at Philippi Village is Bushra Razak. She's a very young socialist person, very down to earth. And she's really, with the help of the team, transformed this place to be what it is. She's always there to help and assist. So her history is social justice. So she's always looking in ways to solve issues and problems in the community using a social justice aspect. Some of the other projects that we will be seeing at Philippi Village is a basketball court, a walking track, which we have completed, a 5-a-side soccer pitch and a netball pitch, where individuals can also come in with their groups or in the community teams. We are just about to sign off the BMX track or the pump track, so that's quite nice and exciting. Also, like the 11-a-side that we also have, something that the community has come to our office and asked if we could do that. And we have given them the go-ahead. And so they came in and they cleared a pitch of land, which we now call the 11-a-side. Also at Philippi Village, we have a studio. And Z, who is our studio manager, basically managed that whole space. So again, it is for the community, it is for tenants. It's for tenants to come in and record a jingle or two if that is what they're good at. It's for them to do podcasts, and not just for Philippi Village, but for themselves also. We also have a group of mojos, which we call the Mobile Journalist Team, and they go out to the different spaces in Philippi Village and they record certain things. So how they fit into my department is I ask them to do tenant stories. So they would go out, they would interview, and they would learn what does one particular tenant do in their space. And then we share that with the rest of the Philippi Village community, seeing what they do, how they do it, getting to know who they are on a personal and business level.
And just before we go, time to bring the star cast into vision. The behind the scenes people who've made this all possible. The rest of the Adams clan, Mrs. Adams, Leah and Adams, Miss Adams, Isla Grace Adams, and everybody else walking through shots, waving, saying hi, wanting to be part of the show from Turkey. Appreciate everyone's time. All of the contact details on the bottom of your screen right now. UWC on air, comments, complaints, suggestions, anything and everything under the sun. And here's the rest of the star cast, the legends. See you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.